This is just the most adorable little small town.
I think it's one of the best places to raise a family.
Well, what's nice about Cape May is that you could describe almost all of the businesses as mom and pops.
You want to go there and experience Cape May.
You have a problem, people rally, you feel the love, and you know how important we all are to each other.
Welcome to Cape May Trading Post at Dellas, a coastal community store.
You know, I'm luckily enough to grow up here. I had the chance to see kind of how this place evolved at a young age, and you know, from a time where, you know, it was from Memorial Day, Labor Day, to now being almost year-round, just, you know, maybe January, February, having that time off. So that's when I think most places do renovations, and so it's pretty neat to kind of see the evolution. And I think, you know, it's become a much more well-known place as time goes on, just because of like the HPC with, you know, for instance, the building we're sitting in now is a key contributing historical building. And so Cape May is able to keep its charm by being able to you know, do renovations based on the historic preservation's suggestions. And I think that goes a long way, and there's not many places like this.
No chain restaurants really, no big Walmarts and Amazon stores and everything right here in this little town. If you leave town, sure, but I think, like, I've been coming since I was a young kid, 2, 3, 4 years old, and it still feels like the same place. There's more people, and people are going to be happy or grumpy about that or whatever, but at the end of the day, that's just life, and the place has evolved, I think, and I was talking about this earlier in a previous interview. Very few places you go to that you enjoy vacationing in or spending time in or living in stay the same. Especially if you have the means to live in a wonderful place like this.
Yeah.
People want to come here, and supply and demand, and it's going to create more change and more business. You've been a part of that business change, and we'll get into that. But Cape May has held its charm, like, and that's hard to do, really hard to do. And
so, like, what really happens when a place becomes like an extremely desired place to be at, right? There's a lot of tear down, new construction, big buildings. And luckily, you know, with the HPC, it prevents a lot of that, and you know, you're able to keep the charm. And you know, and for the people that you know, like the charm and the small town feel, and like these really cool historical houses with like the gingerbread and all that, you know, it's a special character, and I think that brings in even, you know, a more sophisticated crowd, which, you know, is great for, you know, business owners, and just having a nice community here.
Explain the kind of restaurant ecosystem. You're a part of it, main part of it, and you continue to grow as a stakeholder in that. But this town's really unique. We were talking about it before. It's got all these different levels of dining, from your hot dog stand to your fine dining at the Washington Inn. But explain kind of that ecosystem, and then talk about, you know, your establishments in town.
Sure. So Cape May, I think, is known for having well fine dining, sophisticated, you know, attributes. I think, well, you know, a lot of people up the shoreline come down to Cape May, you know, to go out at nighttime, or to, you know, have a nice meal at, you know, places like Washington Inn, Ebbett Room. Lobster House is like, you know, a famous place growing up, and all these big, huge names, you know, had stood the test of time, right? Like they're still around. They're still exactly how they were, you know, over time, and people really enjoy that. What is my position here? Like, it's very different, right? Yeah. So like, so you can't really compete with these places. They're really good, and they're really good at what they do. So what I saw, you know, and my journey kind of started a little different than most, but we initially bought this building because we wanted to do a hotel on the 3rd and 4th floor. We had no intentions of owning a restaurant. Actually, so much that, like, you know, we had a food truck in Philadelphia, 2 food trucks, and both went out of business, and it was the hardest business, I think, I've ever done. Just because we were cooking, we were doing inventory. We did every part of, when you have a small business like this, it's so hard because you can't afford to really bring in people to help you. So you're really doing all this work yourself. And then, you know, Lauren's mom, she's an accountant. She's like, you know, Ross, like the toughest businesses are the restaurant business. I'm like, great. Like, you know,
Here we go. Yeah.
I work hard, and you know, I love doing all that kind of stuff.
I think it weeds people out the most. I don't know if it's the toughest business, but it is the toughest. Everybody says that, and it's true. But I think it weeds people out.
For sure.
For these towns, we talk about Key West that we both love, and Cape May. It weeds out the people that aren't. Someone said it best to me, and this friend of mine from my hometown owns multiple bars and restaurants. Mm-hmm. He's like, the best part about the restaurant business is if I work my you-know-what off, I'm going to have success with it. And
yeah,
you know,
innovation and growing it, you know, plays a big part. Yeah. So when we bought this building, you know, our intentions were always going to do, because we just got done the Buttonwood, and the bank was really excited about us doing another like boutique hotel, and so we this building had. I just got so excited, you know, even thinking about doing something to this building, because it would be like such intricate part of like Cape May, and you know, like being a contributing building. It like is built in the roots of like Cape May. So I got really excited about doing a hotel on the 3rd and 4th floor here, and then you know, it was during COVID, and restaurants were getting killed, and you know, I guess when there's blood in the water, you know, so
jump right in.
Yeah, I was like, this is my opportunity to really get a liquor license and to run a restaurant, I guess, you know, again. And we ended up meeting, you know, Victor and the management here, and I was like, man, these guys, like, they know what they're doing. They just need like maybe someone that could, you know, really renovate it to make it, you know, feel good in here, feel nice. And to really back them with support, and to bring in the right people to, you know, kind of run the front of the house, and all that plays such a big role. And so this is where my restaurant began, right? So we ended up buying the building, not even touching the 3rd and 4th. Actually, if you go up there now, it's bare, you know, there's offices up there. It's exactly like it was when we bought it. We ended up doing this crazy renovation here. The first year, we did, I think, like half of the renovation, and then the following year we really got everything done. And it was that following year where we were seeing, you know, between 15 to 2,000 people here per day. We were having, you know, our 2-hour wait, you know, and I felt like we were getting some traction. Mind you, like that first year, so you know how we were talking about live music earlier? So we would bring in live music, like either solo artist, duo, right? Mm-hmm. And so they would ask, all right, what times should we play? And, you know, typically in every bar, like, you know, it would be maybe 7 to 10 or 6 to 9. But I'd be so embarrassed because after 8 o'clock, we couldn't get people to come here at all. And I'm like, man, I guess like if you just do it repetitively, and like all you focus on like is what's best for the customer, then ultimately like you'll gain that traction. And now we have people here till 1 in the morning.
Yeah, you're like, get out. I want to close.
Yeah, like we're trying to close by midnight. Like we don't want, you know.
Yeah.
But that, you know, that took time, and we went through like some a rough patch, just trying to figure out like how we're going to kind of evolve into like this swanky taco bar and have this like cool like DJ vibe in here, make it really floral and have fresh product and fresh product. So, you know, when we talk about evolving as an industry now, so our first things were like, you know, I want fresh juices in these drinks. Like as a customer, what would I want, right? I would want fresh juices. I remember they were using the bought tortillas, and I was like, man, forget that. Like, I'll pay someone to just make tortillas all day long.
And they're so good and they're fresh and you can taste the difference. Same with the drinks. And that's why you come, right? And that's how like this town has evolved where it's like, all right, it's Memorial Day, throw everything in the freezer, throw it in the fryer, put it on the plate, burn and churn, get them out.
Right.
Which, hey, there's still business for that and we still go to those places. But to your point, the premium product is awesome.
Yeah, so like all of our stuff is cut fresh daily. All of our product is brought in daily. With, so kind of how this whole tortilla thing started was I was downstairs and there's this guy in the kitchen, Augustine. He's like the man. And he always like cooks me something when I was coming in back when we first bought it. And I would notice like he would make like the tortillas. And I was like, well, what the heck, like what? I was like, we just have, the ones there. And he was like, no, much better. And like, I was trying, I was like, man, these are like much better, like way better.
Yeah.
I was like, and then, I kind of worked it out with Victor. I was like, how are we going to do this? And so now upstairs we have 2 people just all day long, just pumping them out. But look, my cost probably went up maybe 5 or 6 times. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do we provide the best product, and the best service to the people that come in and visit us, And when, me and my family, we talk about, like restaurants and going out, and this is really like your time outside of like your stressful life or your work environment. Like during the week, I'm working all day long, and finally Friday comes around, and like say you're ready for like a margarita or you're ready for like a night out with friends and stuff. If you're not having like the best possible time at one of our places, we've failed as a company, because you're going to take the time to come spend, a couple hours with us. Like it has to be an incredible product or service that we're putting out for you, because you're going to take the time to, spend with us. And then, when you add on like wait times and stuff like that, it would, if you're not walking out of here happy, like, we failed as a company. So the driving factor for everything we do is how do we provide, the best product.
And you really have done it, man. I mean, and again, so you have Taco Cab, Port, and Fish House.
Yeah.
And then your bed and breakfast.
Yeah. So,
all in this community. And that's really what I'm spinning it back to is you're just a big part of this ecosystem in for a lot of positive ways.
Yeah, we just we broke 500 employees. So it's
great.
a big, now we're a pretty big company.
And on mostly local.
All local.
That's
all
awesome.
local, yeah. And then, when we talk about, say, like Port, we had such an opportunity there. So we were trying to figure out how do we, because we're going through so much product, right? How do we really get behind the product that we're putting out, So we bought the marina. So there's 200 boat slips at Port, and there's a big restaurant. And so within the 200 boat slips, there was, there's a marina that's like 2 down from us, and these guys have these commercial fishing boats, and they're awesome. They're the Wagners, and they know everything about fishing and sea. They've been pot fishing their whole life. Well, I was like, man, like if you got, because the dad was, trying to get out, and I was like, well, look, like we want to be a part. Like, why would our product that you're basically selling it to Philadelphia just to send back down to us? I was like, let me get involved. Let's try to make up a plan, because they love fishing, right? And that's all they care about, and they wanted to get cashed out. And so I said, why don't we work a deal where you guys will still be fishing all the time, and and so we're bringing the freshest product to our customers. So
wow.
So now we have 3 commercial fishing boats, and we bring in the sea bass that is literally 25 miles off the beach here, into for our sea bass tacos here. I don't want to talk about the menu yet for upstairs at Port, but it's going to be upstairs at Port, and then we have the sea bass tacos over at Port, and then Fish House uses sea bass for their fish and chips.
Yep.
And then even in the middle of the summer, we also have lobster that we catch right here. So we have a lobster boat, and that's only 25 miles out here.
That's awesome.
We're bringing in.
That's unheard of. Like that's Key West type stuff.
Well, because for us it was, why don't we just try to cut out the middleman and try to work directly with the people that serve our community here? It only makes sense, right?
Yeah.
and it drops our cost down by like a fifth, right?
Wow.
And then you're gonna think this is kind of crazy, but so we got the whole commercial thing started, and they start fishing. What's today? Like the 14th. They start at the end of this month, so they'll start setting it, and then we have Tog and sea bass going to be coming in, and then again they're just going to be distributed out through the restaurants.
That's great.
We have 200 acres up in Woodstown where we raise our cattle.
Oh, here we go.
And so my dad's side of the family, they're super southern. They're from Virginia, and they have massive lots of cattle, and they go to the auction like every week, and they're just really like good, genuine people. So I hit them up and I was like, hey, like, we're going through almost a cow a day in meat at Taco, which is like 1,400 pounds of meat, right?
Yeah.
I was like, how do we raise these ourselves so we know like kind of where our product is going from, and then on top of that, will this cut my costs down, right? And we figured out a way, like, so I'm buying like 10 cows at a time. And then we raise them up in Woodstown. We buy feeder cattle, and they're primarily grass fed up there.
Wow.
And then we have 2,000 or 3,000 chickens, and then we're growing our tomatoes and our peppers up there. And
why not?
Then, we have pigs too. So
wow.
We're trying to be a part of like. So how do we were trying to think like, how do we really grow this to be like a real business that people can stand behind, and to know like the product they're getting is sufficient, and
it's
and
a whole
acceptable.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it all feeds into the stores, and I mean into the restaurant. I'm using my mom with all the stores, but it feeds into the restaurants and the community, and to hear that it's local, right? That's what everybody loves to hear. That's what everyone tries to achieve. Sometimes financially, that's a different subject, but to put kind of quote unquote money where your mouth is and say, okay, we're going to hire local. We are going to raise cattle local. We are going to grow produce local. We are going to fish local. That's credit to you. That's easier said than done.
No, it was really difficult.
Yeah,
But,
like made in the USA, like that's a real thing, and like you're like made in South Jersey, which is huge.
So there was like a couple things that kind of the reason why we kind of got on this trajectory too is like we had rental properties in Vineland. That's kind of how we started with the whole real estate stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of our tenants worked at, I think it was Purdue, one of the huge chicken farms. I think it was Purdue. And she would have to wear a mask to feed the chickens, and she said if she actually inhaled it, that she would have to be hospitalized. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, why are we eating this? Right?
Yeah.
And so we started raising our own. Like for us, like we were raising like 10 or 20 the meat birds, and then we ended up doing like 500 at a time.
I was gonna say that went to 500, and then the whole 9. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got a bunch of like layer birds, and so we use those eggs up at Fish House because that's like a breakfast place. But yeah, and then we sell. Actually, last night my uncle Kenny just brought up from the butcher 10,000 pounds of meat, and we brought it over to the freezer over at Port. So last night at like 11 o'clock, we're like unloading all this, and like the ribeyes are in there.
So you say you want to work the restaurant business, 11 o'clock at night, loading 10,000 of meat, but that's the best part about it. I think to me, in this business and in a town like this, it's like your risk obviously is high, but your reward is higher, obviously, because you get to build this conglomerate. Now, if the wheels are in motion for you, right? You're just a I always say, like Pat Croce from Key West always says that we're just like the custodian. We just open the doors, lock the doors, and then people just funnel in and funnel out. To get it back to kind of Cape May and focus on the Cape May,
sure.
Like your earliest memories, because I know you've been coming here for a long time. What are some fond memories from back in the day coming to this town?
So I grew up down the street here. I went to Star of the Sea, which is down the street. We would bike to school, and then I went to Wild Catholic from there. But early on, the town obviously has changed, in terms of, from how it is from when I grew up to now, and it's changed for the better. But, when I was growing up, again, it was a ghost town after Labor Day. So when we would bike to school, there wouldn't be cars on the road. We would actually play in the street because there was no cars, you know.
No.
And then, you know, now you have so many people that, especially after COVID, that want to live here year round, or even just spend more time here, just because it's like their happy place. I think that's incredible, right?
It was huge. There was a big moment. We were part of that kind of moment in movement of like, we always had a place here, but then like, oh, this is nice, like year round. You could feel it happening year round. I think
sure.
Congress Hall plays a huge role in that.
I'll tell you, and what Curtis has done is unbelievable, and it's cool that you're gonna meet with him next. But we saw sometimes better days in December than we do in the middle of the summertime.
Yeah, my mom feels the same way with her retail stores in the mall. I mean, the mall is vibrant, and the best part about it, this is like the Reef here. The mall's the Reef, and there's outer Reef limits where people come and explore down here, and it's all, you know, people. It bothers me, and when folks say, you know, you got to have it all. We want all the customers, when really this is an awesome like ecosystem. Not to take us off,
absolutely.
But the mall and Congress Hall and Carney's is an established spot. And Barefoot's, they're making renovations, and like it's just constant in a good way. I think.
At the end of the day, what does that really do, right? Yep. To have a business that is more year-round than not, you have better employees, you have better employment, right? You're driving revenue in during the off season where you typically wouldn't years ago, and that just helps with the growth and expansion, and for willing owners to really develop their business further and to make it better. I don't, that's only a huge benefit for everyone that we could be more year round, and especially if you have managers, right? Like, you're not gonna, you can't just tell all of your managers to,
pack up,
and get out,
head south for 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
So being a big employer here, it's important for us to be year round and try to. We're gonna try to stay open as much as we can, just so you don't get those blues on like, oh man, those, all these places are closed here. There's no place to go out, and so especially Taco here, like we being open from Thursday to Sunday during the weekends. Still, our Saturdays we're still seeing over 1,000 people.
And and like we talked about before off camera, what this creates too is. How many places in Cape May can you eat and look at the beach? And it sounds funny, but there's not that many. It's a beach town, but very few, and that are quality to this standard, and that's a credit to you. To keep it again with the Cape May trend, is there any ghost interactions you had over the years? I've had a few.
Oh my God.
Is there any fun stories from that stuff?
So, okay, so this building is known to apparently have ghosts. I won't go on the 4th floor or 3rd floor at nighttime. That's just me personally. I don't believe in it, but I still.
But you respect
there's
it.
still something there.
Yeah, I told the story when we interviewed John Cook, and I'll be brief with it. My mom was in her Lace Silhouette's lingerie down the basement. I go down to visit her at night. This is back in the 90s. And I go visit her at night down there. I pick up the hanger. Pick up to help her. She's hanging hangers at night. It's got to be 9 o'clock, whatever. I grab the hangers. One falls, right? So I hang the hangers up. I grab the one. She's here. I'm here. There's a hanger about 10 yards that way, and it's weeble wobbling like this. The hanger that fell was not there anymore, and it was on over there. I mean, away from us. There was no reason why I would go over there.
Yeah. So like that story, like
I had that, like, oh, and my mom's like, I think that's a cue for us to leave, and we ended up leaving and go back upstairs.
So here, right? So like that story, right? I've heard like that story, but not with hangers, but like that, how someone explained like exactly, like on the 3rd floor of this building, like maybe 5 different times. So like, I don't want to have to.
Yeah, you're like, I'm good.
I just look at the cameras on my phone. I'm like, I don't see anything. We're good.
Yeah. For you, town, like take work aside, like on a personal level, like what do you like to do in this town on an off day or whatever? You and your wife, or you got stuff going on, friends in town. I know you love the water and marina. Yeah.
I mean, what I love to do, like on top of anything, is to just go out fishing. Like I think I work so hard just so I could go fishing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I was like telling my buddies that we go out fishing together, and the guy that runs my boat, I'm like, man, I was like, I'm going through hell right now, just like trying to get port open and just like, you know, just doing renovations, and it's just a lot of stuff happening right now. I was like, the day it's like mid-July, hot out, we're out there and we're tile fishing. I know that's like such a like tile fishing is like you just they're like basically like 1,000 feet down, so you're using an electric reel, but like you're just staying there with your buddies and like you're constantly catching fish. You know, because there's times where you go out like tuna fishing and you spend 12 hours and you're like, God, we don't even have a bite. Right?
You haven't even seen anything other than a bird, and you're chasing it around. Yeah,
you're chasing birds. And at least with tile fishing, you know you're gonna bring something in. And like, and I was like, man, those were like the best memories I had last summer.
Yeah.
Is like, you got like music playing, you just crack like your first beer, you drop it down, and like you don't have any worries in the world, and everything's kind of just like, you know, all the restaurants are open, everything's running, and those are like the days I really work for. And then outside of that, like, you know, it's always fun to stop at like the local places here and grab a drink with friends on like such a nice day. Kind of get your mind off everything.
I'm going to give you some quick hitters here as we wrap up. Favorite coffee shop?
Stars. Yeah.
Favorite place to get ice cream?
In the summertime?
Sure.
Dry Dock's always a classic.
Dry Dock's a classic.
Yeah.
Most underrated spot. And it's busy, but that's close to us. I love walking over there.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite restaurant in town? Could be yours.
I can't say mine.
Okay.
Ones that we go off to the most?
Sure.
Often. Most often. You know, what's a great little spot is Mayor's.
It's awesome.
Yeah, like they got great food, great drinks. It's always a vibe in there.
It's, when you talk about quality, great cocktails, it has the same vibe as this day. Different vibe than this place, but the same streamlined of, we're going to have simple
Good
menu,
product out there.
great product, fresh juice, love it. And for our neck of the woods, which I think is the best place,
I think they have great drinks, by the way.
great drinks, great service too.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking forward to interviewing Alex. He's awesome. The Lauderman family, what they've done to this town. And it goes without saying with the Lobster House. All right, favorite beach?
Well, the one I grew up in, Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some core memories from there for sure.
Yeah, you know, it was always Harry's, right? And they would always set up their thing in the front of that beach, but it was just the one we would walk down to because it was 5 blocks from our house. Yeah.
What am I missing? Favorite bar in town?
Bar?
Yeah. Sitting in a bar, you're getting a drink. It could be
Like year-round bar?
whatever.
I mean, Seaview, right? Like that's like, it's like, you know, when you're having a rough day, you call up your friends and you're like, why don't we just grab a beer at Seaview? It's like $3.
Yeah. And wings, and you see the same people, and you know someone's gonna know your name back, and
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of locals.
A lot of locals.
A lot of locals there.
So, is there any customer story or interaction from just like you got so many different things you're involved in here, but any good core moments over the years of people following up, or you providing good business or service to them that they share with you, or a story with one of your employees that you enjoy telling?
For all of our managers, we do a profit share, so they really have an incentive to grow the business as much as we do, and I want them to feel fully connected with, with our business. And you know, I was thinking about it. I was like, what would I want if I was a manager? And just to know that every person that walks through that door and every dollar that's spent that they're a part of is something that we provide that I don't think most restaurants provide.
Yeah, that is awesome. What's the future of Cape May look like? We kind of know what the past has looked like, and it's grown, and we both, you and I, agree, it's gotten better, it's got more fun. But what's the next 5-10 years of this town look like?
Well, I mean, we're kind of looking at like a bit of an evolution that happened like within the past few years, which are these arches and getting rid of these street posts and, you know, all the wires that used to run down Beach Avenue is now removed because of these arches. And you know, that whole project I thought was a big win. There's so many people that were against it initially, and I think just growing up in a town like this, you're gonna have a lot of people that don't like change. But I think that was a change for the better, and I think that really turned out well. I think what the mayor Zach is doing, all the little things that I think most people don't see that he does, actually plays a major role in terms of developing this place, and he's someone that is a great leader, and he's an important part of this place. The vision that we have, I guess what I really wanted was to change the way people go out. I think by changing the way people go out, and then tying that in with like how many lives can we affect, you know, over a given year, I think that gets me excited, right? Because if you think about it, on average, you know, at Port we would have around 2,500 people there. Here, on average, in the summertime, is around 1,800 people. And then, you know, we would have like 300-400 up at Fish House per day. That's a lot of lives you're affecting, right? And we have such a great team and a great HR company behind us that really helped us to get to where we're at today. And it's just something that's like new and exciting, and it's fun right now. So what we have to do is constantly evolve and be better every year for us to compete, to be, you know, a staple for people to check us out and to go to.
Last quick hitter before we wrap it up that I forgot. Favorite place that you like to shop in Cape May?
Shop? I mean, I have to give it to my two friends. So Cape May Surf and then Galvanic. Yeah.
They do a great job. That's
Yeah.
great. Ross, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.